Namaskar. I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to our live and interactive online training session of this very important series titled Beyond Labels Understanding 5 Ds. Dyslexia, Dysgraphia, Dyscalculia, Dyspraxia and Developmental Aphasia. You are watching us live on PME Vidya channels 6 to 12 and also on our PME Vidya ISL channel number 31. We are also streaming live on our YouTube handle NCERT Official and also on our PME Vidya's ISL channel YouTube handle. Now, first of all, let me congratulate all of you and let me thank all of you for your wonderful support, for your participation, for your registrations to this training program. Yes, we have received 1,11,103 registrations for this training series, and this shows how much you are interested in being a part of this amazing effort that is done by CIET NCERT. So thank you so very much first of all for that, and also today is going to be yet another very important session that we have got for you. This is day 2 of the training program where we will be talking about dyslexia and developmental aphasia. So this is our topic for day 2 session, and if you have questions related to the topic, which is of course right now on your screen, please feel free to get in touch with us. Our phone number is 8800440559, and also we have an email ID for you on which you can ask questions related to dyslexia and developmental aphasia when language becomes a struggle. Our day 2 topic, and we have a dedicated email ID for you like yesterday. The email ID is dai.ie.ciet.nic.in. It's there on your screen as well. Also, you can send us your questions, suggestions, your feedback on our both YouTube handles as well. Apart from that, there is one more thing that I want to share with you all, that why we are having this training on the 3rd week of June. Yesterday I mentioned the reason, today let me do the same. Actually, Specific Learning Disabilities Week is celebrated on the 3rd week of June. So from 15th to 21st, yani this entire week we are celebrating this special occasion, and NCERT decided to be a part of it through this wonderful effort of ours. आई होप कि कल के सेशन से जो भी हमें रिस्पांस मिला आज हमें उससे डबल रिस्पांस मिलेगा, बिकॉज आज भी हम बहुत सारे यूनिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स आपके लिए लेकर आए हैं जो आपको एक मच नीडेड अवेयरनेस और अंडरस्टैंडिंग देंगे रिगार्डिंग डिसलेक्सिया एंड डेवलपमेंटल अफेजिया, जहाँ पर लैंग्वेज चाहे वो रीडिंग हो, राइटिंग हो या फिर स्पोकन हो, वो एक स्ट्रगल और एक चैलेंज बन के रह जाती है. बट देयर इज अ सिल्वर लाइनिंग बिहाइंड द डार्क क्लाउड्स. यस, इस चीज़ को हम ठीक कर सकते हैं विद प्रॉपर इंटरवेंशंस एट द राइट टाइम, जिनके बारे में डेफिनेटली हम आपसे बात करेंगे. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस, मैं ये भी कहना चाहती हूँ कि जो हमने टैग दिया है हमारी इस पूरी ट्रेनिंग सीरीज़ को, हमने लेबल किया है दैट यू नो दीज आर इनविजिबल डिसेबिलिटीज़, क्योंकि ये इतनी जल्दी नोटिस नहीं हो पाती, क्योंकि अपेरेंटली कोई फिजिकल ऐसा हमें चैलेंज नहीं नज़र आता है, लेकिन ये एक चैलेंज है, एक स्ट्रगल है उन सभी के लिए जो इससे जूझ रहे हैं. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इट्स नॉट एन इलनेस, आपने दवाई खाई ठीक हो गया, इट्स नॉट अ डिसऑर्डर. एंड थर्डली, हमको किसी को लेबल नहीं करना. इट्स आवर एफर्ट टू ओनली screen this as early as possible at the school level to be precise, और उसके बाद आप इसको फर्दर मेडिकल डायग्नोसिस के लिए आगे रेफर कर सकते हैं, और जो मेडिकल प्रोफेशनल्स है, कंसर्न मेडिकल प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, उनके डायग्नोसिस के बाद ही हम कह सकते हैं दैट अ चाइल्ड इज हैविंग दिस पर्टिकुलर स्पेसिफिक लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी. सो प्लीज़ जितने भी टीचर्स हैं, पेरेंट्स हैं, टीचर एजुकेटर्स हैं या जनरल मेंबर के जनरल पब्लिक के जो मेंबर्स हैं, आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि कुछ सुनने के बाद आप डायरेक्ट लेबलिंग मत कीजिए. Try to be more empathetic and understanding towards the need of a child. Also, NEP 2020 talks about a blended mode of learning and providing inclusive education to all. हम equity की बात करते हैं, inclusivity की बात करते हैं, और वहाँ पर हमें समझना ज़रूरी है that where the child is coming from and what the child needs, and accordingly we can design and develop the lesson content. और सबसे बड़ी बात ये कि अपने सभी सेशंस को हम बनाने की कोशिश करते हैं वेरी एंगेजिंग, इंटरैक्टिव, फुल ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन, एंड ऑफ कोर्स वेरी जॉयफुल. दैट इज व्हाई वी हैव आवर इंडियन साइन लैंग्वेज इंटरप्रेटर्स विद अस. राइट नाउ यू आर वाचिंग ऑन स्क्रीन मिस नीतू, एंड शी विल बी अकम्पनीड बाय मिस्टर देव मलिक. Namaskar, we welcome both of you to the session. And now, my dear friends, let me introduce you all to my guests for the session who have joined us for day 2 session, which is Dyslexia and Developmental Aphasia, where language becomes a struggle. So please join me in welcoming Miss Lalitha Ramanujam. Ma'am is Director of Alpha to Omega. Ma'am, namaskar and very warm welcome to the session.
Namaskar.
Right. We also have with us Mr. Arun Fernandez. Sir is founder and managing director of D Learners. Sir, namaskar and very warm welcome to you.
Namaskar.
Right. And now let me start with the question and answer round, because I know that you have a lot of questions on your mind. I have some too. So first of all, let's start with Lalitha ma'am. To set the stage, ma'am, I request you to kindly apprise us all about the topic that we are taking up today. Please tell us, how do we define dyslexia and how does it fundamentally differs from developmental aphasia in terms of language processing? Because both these disabilities are actually connected with the struggle related to language. Please, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon to all. Now, if you look at the definition, it tells us the children struggle to read and write. Can we have slide 1, please?
Sure, ma'am.
And then, if you see them, they are getting low grades. And that is when teachers come to know about it. Definition or no definition, all classroom teachers are aware when the child falls back behind, especially in reading, spelling, and then this continues in effect to the teacher. The teacher says, I'm teaching everyone, but still the child is not achieving. And then he needs to get support. So definition of dyslexia is something teachers have to remember. It is a specific learning difficulty. It comes under the larger umbrella of learning disability. Next slide, please. Now, the other question that has come earlier, when they started working, they looked only at dyslexia and they said a child who's not reading, writing, but normal in intelligence, normal in schooling, no mental retardation, but not achieving in class. As the years went along, they found that some children had difficulties in understanding and using language. And then became the question, what is dyslexia, what is aphasia? So it became evident that early childhood children were starting to have this difficulty. They sent them to the medical world and they said no hearing loss, no intellectual disability, no brain injury, but still there was. And very often it was found that they had limited exposure to language. So language became an important component of identifying specific learning difficulties, especially dyslexia. If you ask a teacher, she is the best person to tell you that a child who is in class is having some struggle, whereas the remaining children are not. It can be a reading problem or a language. Next.
Ma'am, first of all, thank you so much for telling us the major difference or the definition of the two. Now, there's a tagline which says, I know it, but I can't say it. I'm sure it's going to be a little challenging and frustrating for the child. Can you just throw the light on this particular line? I know it,
Sure.
but I can't say it. What's going on inside the child's brain at that moment?
Yes, that's a very nice wording and a good question, because very often you have heard people say it's at the tip of my tongue, it's not coming. And that's how this whole child lives along. He knows the word, the processing is the one that is delaying. There is a slow connection. It is not a speech difficulty. It is nothing to do with a speech disorder. I can give you a simple example. Doing a reading comprehension in class, I showed a picture and asked the child who did the mistake. He said yes, and it took a long time to think. Then he came up with the answer and raised his hand and said, I can tell it in Tamil, not in English. So you see, it was a language problem. And then we found out this is also in English. So the processing to get the right word at the right time, it is in his head, it is not coming out.
Right.
So it is very frustrating.
It's very frustrating. And ma'am, in India, we have very limited knowledge regarding SLD, especially in the rural areas or in the communities where it is still considered a kind of a taboo. People are not coming out, not explaining well what is exactly happening to the child. And through this training session of ours, we're trying to, update our teachers, make them aware and more. In fact, we are trying to sensitize them so that they should refrain from labeling. Now, both dyslexia and developmental aphasia are language-related disabilities. I want to know certain areas that are similar but certain areas where they are totally different. If you can just throw light on this, and that is also very beautifully mentioned in this slide of yours, the
Yes.
similarities and,
Can you
and the
have
differences.
the next slide? Can you have the
Yeah.
next slide? I'll explain
Yeah.
that. See, the similarities with it is seen even in early childhood. And very often in our culture or society, they say, oh no, his father was talking late, he talked late. So, people wait, they give that wait time too long. And then you see the child is normal in intelligence. They see he can do everything. He's going to normal school and he can do well in academic with a lot of support from his mother. Homework becomes a burden, and then social interaction is not very effective because he knows the things but he's not using proper language, or he's using one word, he's not talking in full sentences. So you see, dyslexia, reading problem, as well as the ability to use the right word at the right time in a proper sentence or phrase can coexist together. But there are many times you will see only one more prominent. Very often, teachers and parents wake up when they see the red line in the report. When the child is talking, they say, okay, we'll wait. So I think waiting causes problem. Early identification and appropriate support, reading to the child, because we can't even think without words.
That's
so
right.
language is a major component that we have to look, exposing the child so that he's familiar with reading and language is important. I hope I have made myself clear.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. And now let's talk about the key differences.
Yes, the two differences, as I said earlier, dyslexia is so closely connected only to reading and spelling, or academic areas. But when it comes to aphasia, it is the language. But there is a thin line connecting them, and that connection is what we as adults miss. And we think, oh, reading is important. But remember, in reading, we use words. Words must be meaningful and language must be understood. We have a group of children with ESL who are coming not with an English speaking background. We all came from that, but we learned over the years. Some children, in spite of regular schooling, have trouble, and that's when they get the label of dyslexia more, not as aphasia. But once you build in, they both go hand in hand.
That's right,
Yeah.
ma'am. So well explained. Or thankful, we're thankful to our movies. There's a very good movie, Taare Zameen Par, jiski wajah se people know about dyslexia, and we have just now learned essentially it's more related to reading, and of course more related to reading and spelling it out. It's a language, of course, related to language. But we have this movie, we understand dyslexia. Developmental aphasia is something that generally go unnoticed because people start labeling their kids. Jawab nahi de raha hai, maybe arrogant, stubborn, or lazy, lack of motivation. Because the child cannot express, it's going to be very frustrating for the child. But again, यही हमारा एफर्ट है कि हम लेबल ना करके समझें एक बेसिक डिफरेंस को ताकि अर्ली इंटरवेंशन पॉसिबल हो सके. सो अरुण सर, आई वांट टू आस्क यू बिकॉज व्हाट हैपेंस दैट जनरली टीचर्स एंड पेरेंट्स फेल टू डिस्टिंग्विश वेदर अ चाइल्ड इज generally having a reading difficulty or there is simply a lack of practice or lack of motivation, and they start labeling the child ki lazy hai, weak hai, disobedient hai. So I want to understand from you that how can actually a parent and a teacher can make the right distinction between the two things and can provide the best possible help at that moment.
Yeah, very rightly put when Lalita ma'am was telling that when a child is not attempting to read, so there are children having ESL, English to be second language. Because of that, they don't read. But when it is a dyslexic child, I myself is a dyslexic and a student of Lalita ma'am.
Yeah.
And for me, when you want me to read, I might not be able to read a big word or a new word
Okay.
because of the exposure. But if only there is in a very young age when a child has been given the right intervention and syllabification and so on, I have a small activity followed by that. Can we play that activity so that all of you all can get an idea?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. So you can be my student. Please
Yes.
read this text.
Okay. The top line, it.
Why are you not focusing? Read it correctly.
So you're pressurizing me. I'm let's just trying to make sense of what is there. Bottom line, it, that, it. I mean, do it.
What?
I don't know what
You
these
are
words are.
lazy. You are lazy. You are not reading it correctly. Yeah, you can
Do
play it.
it,
It will go.
exit. No, I can't read it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, nice. You can fast forward it. It'll rejumble it correctly. So what actually happened here is the you were not able to decode the word. Why? Because the letters were not in the right order. So decoding of words are the most important thing for us to read any language. It can be English, Tamil, or any regional languages also. The decoding is the problem for dyslexic children.
So you mean
And
to
but in
say, the text that is right now on screen is the original text, and that is something that a child with dyslexia sees, right? The bottom line is that it does not exist no matter
It
what name people give it.
sees the exact text
Okay.
that does not dance or it does not swiggle and so on and all. It's just more when you see in a movie, it is more dramatic, but actually the child sees the text exactly the same way only. But the child only decodes the text like PRO is pro. So, but when a child of this a dyslexic child wants to read PRO, it will be PRO only. It will never be pro. So, in the same way, that is one reason that dyslexic child are not able to read. So, in the same way, lack of practice. So, there are certain children do not read because exposure is not there. It can
Okay.
be an ESS child and so on. And there is also another reasons wherein it's called mirror imaging and reversal. Reversal is BD reverse. Mirror imaging is the child says saw, but the text would be was. But the child say was, but the text will be saw. So these are the very common difficulties when children actually attempt to read, and because of that, they don't really want to read and they don't want to actually participate in loud reading and all those things.
So, sir, you mean to say the child is already struggling with the language. On top of it, teacher is reprimanding, putting pressure on the child. Parents are doing the same. So, there is a double challenge for the child. He's unable to
Exactly.
explain, you know.
Rightly told, it is an invisible disability.
Yes,
So
yes.
when at this point, when I'm saying I am a dyslexic, then only y'all like anyone will understand. Okay, this person is dyslexic. So there is no visible proof of an individual having that difficulty or a difference. So
So,
that is the main reason when it comes to a child, it is even more difficult. Why? Because the major thing would happen is you are not putting effort. As I was telling you, you
yeah.
concentrate, you're lazy, and all other labels, unnecessary label comes. We all of us fail to understand this child might have that difficulty of not able to read.
So you said you were dyslexic. Now I can imagine what you or children like you must have gone through, when that condition was undiagnosed. So there is
Yeah.
actually a lot of pressure, instead of introducing, or instead of, I would say, instead of first of all screening and introducing the right intervention at the right time, we are labeling the child, demotivating the child, putting his confidence, self-confidence at risk, rather diminishing it completely, and also making him think that nobody is understanding him. So there is of course a problem with interpersonal relationships as well, because child is unable to communicate or make some people understand, their near and dear ones especially. Now, sir, you,
At this session, all the teachers are seeing. For
yeah.
me, it was Lalita ma'am and more other teachers giving me the right intervention to actually come to this pedestal and talk to you all. So, likewise, the teacher is the main key reason for any child to actually come out of the shell of not being incapable of becoming capable. It is all in the teacher's hands.
Absolutely, and these labels, they do impact child's confidence a lot more than we can imagine. So it's very important basically to have understanding and empathy towards the child. Now, sir, you are talking about language. Of course, dyslexia, it impacts language, but we are talking about the scenario of Indian classrooms, which are so vibrant in nature. We have regional languages, we have multilingual classrooms. So there are so many languages, so many scripts. Now I want to understand that how do symptoms of dyslexia and developmental aphasia manifest when a child is trying to navigate not just different scripts but also different languages, and all at the same time.
Yeah, Lalita ma'am had one slide on visual perception also for that.
Yes.
I think.
Lalita ma'am, you can definitely answer, and then of course
Yeah.
sir can also share his
Visual
experiences.
perception. I like the way you introduced the whole program, Harmat, in the beginning, and as a personal information we got from Arun. See, this problem of processing happens differently. You cannot say the child is not processing. You have to look at the highlights of strength the child exhibits. Now, can we see that slide on visual perception? And I will emphasize that.
Yes, sir. It's right there, ma'am, on the screen. Is it the same
Okay.
slide you're talking about?
I can't see it, so it's okay. Yeah. Now, what do you see in it? Can anybody tell us, Harvit, what did you see in this?
I can see the face of a woman and some
Woman,
flowers.
yes.
Yeah.
So, which one is it right? So, the perception is how you look at it.
Yes.
Is it the face, or is it the little flower or a little butterfly on it? And on a branch like thing. So perception becomes very important in working because the child is telling you what he sees. And what he sees may be different from the book. Like the beautiful text that Arun showed us, remember, the child sees it differently. We need to understand and work along with them. And can we have the next slide? Then I'll explain.
So, ma'am,
to you
that is also one thing, that no one perception is the correct perception.
Yes.
Everybody can have their own perceptions, the way they look at things.
But unfortunately, when it comes to reading a text, you have to perceive it the exact way
Yes.
to read it.
That's right.
That is what we have to aim to help the children with.
True.
Right. And the next slide.
Yeah, the difficulties in multilingual classrooms.
This problem, you can see it across races, across languages, across cultures. The difficulties they face in reading and writing. For example, they may reverse letters, or if you take a lesson, any matras are mixed up, or you give them a language instruction. Go and get the bottle of water from upstairs. So they will say, go and get the water from where? The last part is missed out. Then it becomes like a language processing. But when they come back and they say, I said bottle. Oh, I thought you said cattle or something. So the way they hear, the processing of visual, auditory, memory, sequencing, discrimination, all these are little flaws. You cannot take a checklist and say yes to everything. It may be more in some areas, less. No two dyslexics are alike.
Yeah.
No two children with developmental aphasia are alike. Some may have speaking, some may have word retrieval, some may be very good in speaking, but getting the correct word at the right time may be wrong. And some may be very good in listening to the teacher and learn well in the class, but cannot write on their own. So the cluster of difficulties you see is varied. It is not in one language, it runs across all kinds of areas. Like it can be a child with a regional language or English. In our schools, where we have children from heterogeneous nature and multilingual, we got to understand, to remember that is a problem, and how as teachers we need to help them. Yeah.
Right. And we have a very interesting video over here that we can certainly watch. So, can we have the video, please?
What do you mean by move?
They keep on going. Electrical.
Going from
One place to another.
one place to another. So let's read the first line, okay? You want to read the first sentence?
New event tense can change the way we live.
Okay. Can you try reading the second word again? Break it and read.
Inventons,
Inventions.
inventions
Ah.
can change the way we will
We
live.
live. What do you mean by invention, Siddharth?
Some people will create something that's called invention,
Which is already there or which is not there?
which is there or not there.
Who invented the aeroplane? Do you remember? They're called Wright brothers.
Right? Yes.
So before they invented, aeroplane was
Not.
Yes, ma'am. Please tell us something about this video.
Yeah. Now you saw two children. Why we chose one child is dyslexic, one child has got dyslexia as well as aphasia. The child with dyslexia could tell you what is invention, could explain. His reading is not fluent, but he's learning to encode. But the other child has got both. Is a language. In the beginning when he came, we thought it is because of lack of exposure. And then we realized he makes the same errors in his mother tongue. When you ask him, what are you drinking? He will look at you, wait for a minute, and then say glass. And then only say water.
Yes.
So you see, it is a processing difficult. But the other child, who's only a pure dyslexic, will say water,
Yeah.
a glass water, and can also say it. But he would come up with very nice questions. Water, how do you spell it? Why is it wa? It says and you're writing A. But the glass, there's only one S sound. Why two? He'll ask you. But the other child, he will just learn by rote, and then he'll take time to make a sentence. So as teachers, we work along, you'll be able to see the slight differences, and both have difficulties. The difficulties are different in nature, but the treatment can be same and can bridge it together to help them to read, to speak, to write.
Right. So on one hand, we saw that there is struggle with speaking, with expression, and on the other hand, there was a struggle between spelling it out and, of course, reading. Now, before I ask you another question, Lalita ma'am, Arun sir, I want to go back to you once again. I want your 2 bits on the same. When you were studying as a child, and of course, there were multiple scripts in multiple languages, like we just saw, how did you juggle? How did you manage to overcome those challenges?
So basically, apart from English, I will not be able to read any other language.
Okay.
So in NCERT and all our boards actually today have this allowance of exempting second languages.
Okay.
So there is a point wherein whether you need to struggle with the language or just understand the language and go ahead. So here at the point of English or Tamil or any other language, I can kind of hear and understand. Comprehension would be high, but auditory learning can happen. But when we need not actually literally want to read and write the language.
Absolutely.
So,
right. And we have something to show you also later, that if you're having problem in reading a language, writing it, then we have auditory material for you. We will show you in a while, but before that, let me come back to Lalita ma'am and ask you very interesting question, that we're talking about dyslexia and developmental aphasia. We're talking about the struggle with language. Everybody wants to speak, express themselves properly. They do not want to end up in a situation that's very frustrating and irritating. So we can say it is not just an academic hurdle. It is also an obstacle that leads to different challenges in your day-to-day life, in your interpersonal relationships, in you as an individual also, because you lose confidence, you lose motivation, you do not like to mingle with people. So I want to ask you, Lalita ma'am, how it impacts the child's world altogether. What are some of the hidden difficulties in day-to-day life that a child is facing that we might not know, but of course we will know when you will let us know about the same. And also, outside of reading a textbook, what are the difficulties that these children are facing at their homes, in their schools, when they are going out, mingling with their relatives, meeting with their peers? Please tell us, ma'am.
Yes. First of all, when we look at the non-academic side, when we talk about reading and writing, we are looking mainly at the academic end.
That's right.
The hidden disability is not only in the academic, it is also in the non-academic, like the emotional, their social and behavior. Emotionally, imagine you're sitting in a classroom and everybody is able to follow the instruction. When the teacher says, turn to page 24, look at sum number 22, they're all doing it so fast. And by the time you take the bag, you take out your book and you've forgotten the page number, you don't know which paragraph, you are lost. And everybody is looking at you. And then you also have another one. You go to the games field and the PT master is saying, all of you stand in a line at 1 arm distance. And now I am looking at it and I don't know 1 arm distance. What is it? I have 2 arms. Why he wants 1 arm? So I'm thinking about this and then he's gone to another activity. Or he's saying turn left and I'm wondering which is my left or right.
Yeah.
Then comes the behavior issue. I'm so lost. I'm so sad within myself. I feel low self-esteem. I don't have confidence. But then I can become a bully or I can become very submissive and become not confident of myself. withdrawn, anxiety. Then comes with the homework problem. When I go home, my mother is running another school. Read, homework, do this, do that. And I can understand what the teacher said, but to read it from that book is right. And then when I'm reading, she's scolding me, or my teacher is scolding me, you're not looking properly, you're not looking hard, you're not looking nicely. You know, all these nice words they use, hard, nice. But what is the poor child doing? He's skipping words, he's missing letters, or he is leaving a line, or he misspells words. He says the word correctly, he writes. The mother says, I taught him all the spelling at home, but he goes to school and writes. Or he writes the word, you say time for dictation, he writes TIEM. And when you ask him, you say, what did you do? No, I got all the letters. You read it properly. But then the child doesn't know the sequence is not there. Or managing daily routines, what time to get up, what time to go. These children have a very poor concept of time. Like, you've got 5 minutes before the bus comes and they're only just getting up. Oh, I can rest, I can eat, do everything. But they don't have spatial relation or time. Copying from the blackboard is difficult. True. There are children who will know copy, and then there was a kid who did this. She saw the word the on the first line and the word the on the fourth line. She went to the fourth line. Why? She said, if I write everything, it will take time. So I'll write wherever the the's and make it shorter answer. She didn't understand that she was going in the wrong track. And then you give computers or you give spell check. Like I have a child who's a dyslexic, my own daughter. When you give her a spell check and says check, she says, I don't like it because I don't know the spelling and it is showing me 5 spelling. Which one will I choose? You better tell me. So you see, that was a true place. Or doing steps in a drama or a dance or any physical activity, following instructions in sequence is a difficulty in addition to reading and writing. Put yourself in the shoes of a dyslexic who is not only reading, who is not only writing difficulty, but has all problems going through his day-to-day activity. So my real request to all the teachers is don't be at the child, be with the child and understand him.
Exactly. We should be there for the child in all the scenarios. And this is what happens when a child is dyslexic. And when a child is having developmental aphasia, he or she has some other kind of difficulties or challenges. Ma'am, please elaborate on this slide.
Yeah, the difficulties, as I said, it's not a checklist we can say we can be sure that will be there.
Right.
They may know the word, but they will not say the correct word. Like one very common thing, hey, bring that thing, man. What thing? I know what that thing, but other person may not know. They are having the thought, but language, the words are not used. So you see how they talk, fluency in language can be lacking. And in addition, they don't read, they don't have the habit of reading. They don't understand what is a character, what is the main character, where it happened, why. But they will be able to tell you the whole gist of it, but the sequence may be not right. They'll start off the story from where they like it. What was the ending? Oh, the man was shot in the car. Why? Where? So, you have to train them. And I'll tell you, friends, all the teachers and parents, don't think you're on a dark road. There is a beautiful light at the end. Every child can learn. We have to go into their method and see how their cognitive process works. Talk to them, build language, build reading, build writing. Don't go in isolation. It has to be a vetted program. You have to build confidence. Don't think you're a reading teacher. You are a teacher for the child. So look at him holistically and understand what are the things. Don't think only reading. Teach him what synonyms are, what antonyms are, what is a simile. You have to treat him as normally as in and develop him. That is only my request for helping the child in his daily life. Not in isolation for reading, or remedial means not only reading and spelling, but a holistic approach. Yeah.
Very, very nicely said, ma'am, because of course we are not just concerned about the academic results. We need to be focused on child's overall development. And as you mentioned that these difficulties that we have in case of a child who's dyslexic and one who's having developmental aphasia, this is not the whole soul checklist that we have. They can have some of it, all of it, and some add-ons as well. So you need to understand the kind of difficulties they are facing, because nothing grows or develops in isolation. Professional, personal, they go hand in hand. So we need to consider the holistic development part. And now let's listen from the horse's mouth himself. Arun sir, I want to ask you that we have the system, be it a societal setup, academic setup, professional setup, that is typically designed for neurotypical people. And also when it comes to education, a system that is designed for neurotypical learners, it takes a massive toll on those who are having SLDs. So can you speak about all these socio-emotional effects that are there on a child's self-esteem because of repeated failures, because of this demotivation, because these symptoms or these SLDs, they go unnoticed for years, and child is repeatedly humiliated, confidence is low, demotivated. So please tell us what happens to a child's self-esteem and his mental health in case of dyslexia and developmental aphasia.
So both, if you see, so normal person in a school or something, someone who is studying in a school, they will fail in exams.
Yes.
They will fail in midterms or tests and so on.
True.
But when it is a dyslexic child, they will, in my case, I changed 7 schools to complete my schooling. My final school was Alpha to Omega. So every school I moved, or every time I go to a school, I fail. Because I failed to read, I fail to write from the board, because the rest of this class write from the board as word by word or phrases. I want to write, I will write letter by letter like an art. That makes me not complete my classwork, and afterwards I will not write. Why? Because any case, whatever I'm going to finish, already the board, which is 6x4 board only. So little bit only, ma'am would have the time to leave the whole content. So after a point, then I will leave it. I'll say, okay, later on I will Xerox copy it. So the Xerox copying attitude is what I would say. It's a good attitude, is what for dyslexic, because we will always find reasons and pathways to create a solution, rather than only battling with a failure. But this is one failure. So if you see, like in a class of 5-6 hours a day, every day and every hour a child will fail, because the child is not able to read from the board, or the child is not able to read from the book. I remember in classes, there'll be, you would also remember, like in school, there will be row by row people will read loudly.
Yes.
I will never be able to do so. So what I will do, I will figure out ways to go out of the class, or else switch the table or something of that and all I would do, because failure, no one wants to fail.
Yeah.
So that is the main reason. Then if you get into another aspect on remedial education, when you are a 3rd standard kid, when you initially wanting to start remedial, you will be asked to decode words. That is, when you say A is A, those sounds. So you kind of learn through the sounds, and remediation and all happens from that point only. But as student, what would happen is, remedial will also be hostile for you. Why? Because you would want to reach somewhere else, but the teacher would only now decode the word. She will teach you all that is necessary. But as a student, you will feel very demotivated, or very kind of not wanting to do it initially. Then afterwards, yes, okay, if I like PRODUCT, when a kid is not able to decode the word or syllabify the word, the child will always read PRODUCT. But when remediation happens, the child will start defining it as PRO is pro, DUCT is product. So this acceptance and all is a very, very high toll on the child's self-image. And school after school, till 8th standard, most of our boards give you pass TC. So which means till 8th standard, the school will be very good to the students, saying that, okay, I will not be able to keep your son in my school, but I can give a pass TC for your child. So that is something which is another big toll on the child. And finally, what actually happens is, a child having scribed to write an exam, That will also be a very traumatizing experience in my life. In 10th, I did an MDA. It's
Okay.
another school in Chennai. I had a scribe to write my exam. I got 78%. I came back home and I was very excited about the whole fact. And my father kind of blew my whole excitement. Why? Because he told me, okay, the whole world is writing by yourself, by themselves, but you are having a scribe to write. So that shattered my social. Now that is the first time ever in my life I actually wrote. I did ask. I did write. I told someone else. So this acceptance is also not there. But finally, after I came to Alpha to Omega, the first rule Lalita ma'am told me is, okay, I will take you in my school, but you need to write. I kind of that rang in my bell in my head. Okay, my father is also telling to write. Ma'am is also asking me to write.
Yeah.
Okay, let me prove this world that I can also write.
Yeah.
But I did write. But I got a 58%. So which means by writing, a dyslexic can also write. But the point is, from 78%, I went low to 58%.
58%, yeah.
College, what I did, this social emotional failure, I came over it, saying that see, writing or reading is not a point of knowledge dissemination. So knowledge is not at all connected to reading or writing. You go to the next slide. I can also add on
Yes.
few experience of children. So if you take Ram, so the next slide I cover these things.
You mean to say the learned helplessness?
Yeah, the next slide, the following slide, case study slide.
Anxiety and defense loops. Okay, you want to show some case studies. All right. Yes.
After that, there's another slide
Is this?
with one. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the slide I wanted. So here you see, writing, reading is a tool. It is not knowledge. But our academic system feels that if the child writes the exam only, it is knowledge. No. Before 3,000 years, no one actually wrote.
Yes.
Everyone spoke and they knew how to make fire, how to build, how to
Yeah.
construct, and everything. There was no written script.
And knowledge was passed on verbally.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
is in Gurukul system and all
Yeah.
knowledge work passed on verbally. So knowledge is something which we need to embrace, not by writing, reading, by just understanding, by listening or by viewing or doing, you can actually acquire knowledge. So today's narrative of dyslexic or any other disability related to language development, we can actually say dyslexic thinking is a skill today because 40% of entrepreneurs are dyslexics today. So writing reading should not be a determiner for knowledge of the child. So
That's right.
as teachers, as all the teachers are seeing today's session, if a child is actually not reading or writing correctly, the child can actually be orally telling the answer. But give an opportunity for the child to orally tell the answer. That way the confidence level of
Yes.
the child will improve a lot.
True, sir.
But
Yeah.
window should be
Windows should be kept open, and there are different ways to test a child's knowledge. And I think such different techniques should be applied whether you are teaching in a rural setting or in an urban setting. So I want to ask you about some couple of case studies. Of course, we have slides with us as well. So I want you to elaborate what is the journey like of a child who's dyslexic and one who's having developmental aphasia, but one who's studying in a rural setting where there are less resources, infrastructure is not proper, and another one who is studying in an urban setting which is technically developed, more sound, and of course more awareness is there. If we can just throw some light and give us a point of distinction, I think it will be easier for understand and to come up with the ways that can bridge that gap.
So there's a slide on the case study. I can go to that also at the meantime. So here what actually happens is as D-Learners, a platform wherein remedial education is, access to remedial education in a rural setting is very, very difficult. Why? Because the teachers, they themselves kind of have this burden of complete the coursework and complete the syllabus and all those things. And these children are actually left behind when they're not actually performing. So that way, through D-Learners, we have working 100 plus schools today. That intervention more digital, like now in NCERT and through Nipun Bharat and other platforms also, through so there are a lot of possibility to help these children today. But 10-15 years before, it was not so. So if we see the rural child who is 10 years old, who will be orally very good, but if they're not able to write well, there is no awareness of a teacher to say, okay, you can also have an oral test, because the new education policy insists that. But that window should be given to the rural kid too, because if it is not given, then the nearest possible window will be the child will be dropped out of school. Why? Because the child is not performing in exams.
Yeah, so there will
So
be more dropouts eventually, because there are challenges, no doubt, but then we need to provide them the adequate support, and outcome will be fantastic. And then we have case studies for developmental aphasia, because we are left with very little time, sir. So request you to kindly speedily go through the same. Yes.
yes, ma'am. Lalita ma'am, do you want to?
Yes, when you're talking about developmental dyslexia, as I said, there are children, it can be in the rural or urban areas. There can be in the rural areas where parents talk and give a lot of feedback, teaching them the language, what is this, talking about it at home, the names of people, vegetables, items, anything. This language is there given every time. You're eating idli, you're eating dosa, you're eating a chapati, you want a big one, small one. So the mother and father and the family are talking and talking to the child. There can be an urban child who's going to an elite school, nobody talks to him. Everything is done for him. So then it can be a delay in the language. So stimulation is something that we have to give in. My humble request to all the teachers who are listening to us today is that give stimulation to the children. There are labels that is for the medical profession, that professionals, but we need to understand that there are children with language disorders or processing disorders who take time. Then there are children with some reading. But remember, everything can be overcome in spite of this being a lifelong disorder.
That's
we
right.
can learn and communicate and do better. Like Arun said, I love all the children to write on their own as much as they can. If they get 58 marks or 60 marks or 70, it is their own product. But if they get 90 from someone, there is always going to be a stigma. Oh, they wrote it for me. Let's make these children live without a stigma. No non-academic factors. Build their confidence. Aphasia can come even to us.
True.
When we are struggling to express ourselves clearly, then I always think, oh God, am I getting aphasia? It's not developmental aphasia, but it is age aphasia. Will it be dementia? So don't worry about it. Labels and names are there. We can think of enriching the child cognitively, understanding where is the deficit, how to overcome it. So in the rural schools, I have seen millions of teachers who are interested in developing the child's language, reading. There are children who are being read to stories under the tree. You don't need a posh library environment. It is the environment that you create and give the child, which will overcome. In our culture, we used writing on the sand or writing on the rice. This is multisensory. So they used it all along. Gurukul school style, it helps children. Don't label, don't segregate, help everyone. You want to label your items, but not my children. That is the only request I want. I want all the teachers to understand and get prepared to help them in an inclusive class. When the difficulty is very severe, then you can think of segregating. But segregating at a minor level, I think, causes more pain in the child and the parent. Because the parent brings the child to a school because he looks all normal. The problem which is inside is not available explicitly.
Yes, ma'am, you people are sharing some wonderful inputs, but because we do not have enough time, that's why I'm interrupting you. You're absolutely right. Label नहीं करना है, segregation भी करना है. So with a good intention कि आप एक बच्चे को help कर सको उसी के हिसाब से, जो उसकी requirement है उसके हिसाब से. यहाँ पर एक और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ आती है मैम, लाइक सर ने मेंशन भी किया था कि क्योंकि अनडायग्नोस्ड रहता है, स्क्रीनिंग नहीं हो पाती एट द फाउंडेशनल लेवल, तो बच्चा एक हायर लेवल पर पहुँच चुका है, बट स्टिल टीचर्स साउंड सिखा रहे हैं क्योंकि अब पता लग गया है कि डिसलेक्सिया है या फिर लैंग्वेज एक्सप्रेशन में प्रॉब्लम है. दैट इज़ ऑल्सो वेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग. India's Nipun Bharat mission, it actually emphasizes on providing foundational literacy by grade 3. Now I want to ask you, when we want to create specific strategies for dyslexia and developmental aphasia, can't we develop such strategies at the foundational level? कुछ ऐसे screening हो जाए, पता लग जाए पहले से कि हाँ ये बच्चे को इस चीज़ की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है, यहाँ पर इसके लिए हम कस्टमाइज़ कर सकते हैं लेसन प्लान, वो पहले से ही उसको इंटरवेंशन मिल जाए, या बोर्ड में कोई कॉन्सेप्ट समझाते वक्त एग्जाम्पल्स वैसे हो जाए, कुछ टीचिंग लर्निंग मटीरियल वैसा हो जाए, सो दैट एक चाइल्ड को एक्सेसिबल और इंक्लूसिव एनवायरनमेंट मिले right from the foundational stage. What do you have to say? You both can address this question, but try to address it speedily. Thank you.
Yeah, see, you can take the primary level or the KG level children. You know, in every classroom in today's educational policy, we have the lower, middle, and the higher tier. The lower tier is the one everybody knows everything, and the middle one is the ones who can be at the gap. But the minimum knowledge is the one who has got learning, reading, can have various learning problems. So what you can do is use all the tools that the government is creating. Today, the government, over the last 30 years, I have seen, has come up with various, yesterday you heard about screening tools. When you talk about phonic integration, teach teachers techniques to help them. Teach teachers methodologies to help in the classroom before sending them out for remedial help. See how they can adapt the system. If you're taking a multisensory system, not all of them learn in one mode. If it is multimodal, if you see the child is auditory, where is the weakness in visual, how would you do? So the teacher needs more tools. So make use of all the tools that are available on the net today and do. There's one activity I'd like you all to try. Take a word and leave out one letter and try to say the word. Have fun with the children. This is sharpening the area to listen, to focus, to segregate and blend it together. These are very many activities known as phonological awareness. It can be done in any language. We do it in Tamil, we do it in Hindi and in English. So the child gets mastery, feels confident. Whatever you do, build a sense of achievement in the child.
Right.
Accomplishment is what we want.
And then we can provide great classroom support also by some interesting remedial measures, some great activities that you just spoke of. Like we have the slide also, if you can just throw light on the same.
Yeah, multisensory, always try to use more than one modality. And then when I say segmenting, look at the whole lesson. Tell the child what is the lesson about, an advanced organizer, and show them the pictures, what is there. So the child comes equipped and prepared. And then when they are reading, you can do different techniques. We'll say paired reading, we'll say choir reading, the whole class read, or read with a buddy, or you read one line, I read it, or repeated reading. So you can build in many ways of reading and take all the commonly occurring sight words, teach them little by little, give them the confidence that they can learn. Today, the universal design learning is a wonderful approach developed by the government, by NCERT. Their portals give us so much of information. Don't think only the textbook is necessary. Look at the learning objectives in each of the books and teach the objective. You will be a master, because the more you think, the more you will learn and the more you will be able to help the child. So the more you learn, you realize you don't know more, you keep on learning, learn with the child. Like talking books, great, it's a wonderful tool and many children love it. I have seen some of my children enjoy it. So give them the sense of enjoyment. And I think the following slides, you have some very nice links which throw light to all the teachers. I think they can just take a
absolutely. So this is our very important link, which you're talking about, NCERT web page. It's all about accessibility in school curriculum. If you will go to the link, I'll show you, you will land up on this page, and this page is all about the different inclusive content we have for our students. We have e-Pathshala, Barkha, we have teaching learning resources, Indian Sign Language, and then we have audiobooks, because we are talking about the scenario where language becomes a struggle in case of dyslexia and developmental aphasia. So we have audiobooks. Okay, there's a problem in reading and writing, no problem, we have audiobooks for your support. Then we have all these teaching aids, other aids. Bhasha Sangam is there, Priya, the accessibility warrior. We have teacher support material on inclusive education. We have a Diksha platform, Swam, Nishtha, and then we have Prashas, which is a screening checklist. And Again, we talked about it yesterday also. You can click on the same and you'll get more details. And this one is a very wonderful initiative called KEEPA, or Kitab Ek Padhe Anek. It is basically based on universal design of learning. So we have all these material very handy for you, which you can access very nicely. And then we have some more links for you. On this web link, you can go to our live inclusive classroom sessions. This is the place where we introduce our courses. All these training sessions are there. Then we have another link for you, teaching learning interventions for inclusive classrooms. Every day at 12 o'clock, we have our inclusive sessions on PME Vidya. Then we have all these videos here. Through this link, you can actually access them. So there is actually a lot of material available for everybody out there as per their needs and requirements. All you need to do is to just access them, and they're just a click away. So now, Lalita ma'am, Arun sir, we have reached the culmination of this wonderful session where you actually told us about dyslexia and developmental aphasia. You of course showed us that how proper intervention at the right time can help manage this condition, why should we not label the child, and why it is very important to design lesson plan as per their requirements. Again, very important steps you mentioned to sensitize the teachers, parents and society members at large. What are the different examples of classroom strategies that can be built on the same. Now we have the very last section, which is a very important and very quick section for all of you. It's a myth versus reality. So I request both of you to please participate in the same, and let's summarize this entire conversation that we had today. So the first statement, and you have to say whether it's a myth or a reality. If the child talks normally, there is no language problem. Myth or a reality?
What do you want to say, Arun?
So
Is
they
there?
talk normally, yeah, there's no language problem, but the point is, if it is ask the same child to read or write, that same thing will not happen.
Okay,
So
and
there is
Lalita ma'am, what about you?
Yeah. You see, people, it's how they perceive it. It comes from their cultural background. Oh, he's not talking, so he must be having a problem.
Okay.
But there are people who will say, no, that can be overcome. It is their mindset that also plays a role on the myth.
All
So
right.
we have to teach parents and teachers about a growth mindset.
Okay, okay. So next one, early identification doesn't make much of a difference. Myth or a fact?
Myth.
Early identification
Doesn't
does
make
help.
much difference. Myth.
It does help.
Okay.
Prevention is a blessing. So
Right. But
you can't cure it,
Yeah.
but you will build the confidence. I
Absolutely.
have worked with children from the age of 3, and today they are postgraduates and they're doing very well.
Great.
So remember, early identification, not leaving it at identification, but giving the help after that is the important thing.
Great.
Not getting the doctor certificate and keeping it under the pillow. It is what you are going to do is going to be the effective
Right,
thing.
okay, okay. And now very quickly, another 3. Extra practice alone will solve the problem. Myth or a fact?
Can you repeat that question?
Extra practice will solve the problem. Myth, fact?
It's
Is-
myth. I
myth,
would say,
okay.
I would go in saying that if that practice is in a right manner, like remediation through the practice, then it will be actually solve the problem.
All right.
But if writing 100 times and copying and writing, that is rote learning. That will never help. But when the child is writing, the child is syllabificating and writing, decoding of the word, understanding the phonemes.
Right, right.
And
So very
the
quickly,
sound.
the next 3, because we do not have much time left. So just say myth or a fact. Children with dyslexia see letters backwards. Myth or fact?
Myth.
Okay. Developmental
It's a myth.
aphasia means the child cannot speak. Myth or a fact?
It's a myth.
Myth. Multilingualism causes dyslexia or developmental aphasia. Myth or a fact?
It's a myth.
Okay.
Myth.
These children, it's a neurological thing. They are born with it. So we cannot say that caused this.
Right.
There are children with who can talk very well in 5 languages and still have dyslexia.
That's right. So we have busted certain myths and we have got the realities. With this, it's time for me to basically wrap up this beautiful session of ours. I would say beautiful because we learned so many new things that it has enhanced our knowledge base, and I'm sure that we made a sincere effort to sensitize the teachers and it worked well. So thank you so much, Lalita ma'am, and thank you so much, Arun sir, for your valuable inputs and for your
Thank you.
wonderful
It was a pleasure.
contribution.
It was a
to the
pleasure
session.
to reach out to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, dear viewers, it was our day 2 session under our umbrella training program, which is Beyond Labels, Understanding 5Ds. Today, we talked about dyslexia and developmental aphasia, when language becomes a struggle. Hope you enjoyed the session, you grasped the energy, and now you know about all the myths and facts and what you need to do in order to understand a child better who is dyslexic or having developmental aphasia. And since it's a training program, there is going to be an assessment on the last day of the training session, which is going to be on Friday, day 5. Once again, we thank you for your time, for your contribution. If you have some questions on your mind that we couldn't take up, please feel free to send those questions offline on our email ID, which is dai.ie@cit.nic.in. Tomorrow, we will be coming up with yet another interesting topic. So, please make sure that you watch all our sessions very attentively. If you have missed out on the live session, not a problem. You can watch the uploaded versions on our YouTube handle NCERT Official and on our PME Vidya DTH ISL channel number 31 YouTube handle. And now let me thank both our ISL interpreters, Ms. Neetu and Mr. Dev Malik, for their valuable contribution, along with my entire team for making this session a success. Now let me tell you quickly what's coming up next, and here is the program schedule. So in a short while from now, you'll be watching a session of ours on Urdu at 2 p.m. With this, it's a close, and this is me, Harpreet Kaur, signing off. Namaskar.